Oh, you know what, let me let
Oh.
them turn their videos on. Okay, they should be all set.
Corey's here. Hello.
Hey guys.
And Carrie. Good. All right.
Yep, I'm here, Tim.
All right. I think we're going to open up with Chief Rogowski. He's got something for us here. Right?
Well, yeah, so essentially tonight
Yeah.
we're talking about largely about our capital expense plan, and then
Okay.
we did have to increase the fire department budget and the ambulance budget by a little bit because of contractual agreements, the fire union contract we came to agreement on. So you see in the budget, I've already increased, that's what the everything highlighted in blue is. I got this for you, Chief.
I think,
Yeah, so everything highlighted in blue is what we had to increase based off of what the union negotiated with the town.
Mm-hmm. And that contract is signed, is it?
Yes.
And what kind of rates, do we have the numbers?
yeah, 22. So
Let me see if I can find it.
the firefighters that currently are in there went from 18.53 to $22 an hour.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And the paramedic was just a 3%, so. we
Yeah.
got
Okay.
A 3% increase across the board. Our paramedic pay is very competitive with all the other
Has to be,
communities.
right? We wouldn't have any otherwise.
Yeah, unfortunately.
Right,
And
so,
our EMT rate was exceptionally low.
Yeah.
So we brought that to, a little below the average going rate, so better than some, not as good as the rest, but I think it's very, very
Excellent.
fair.
Excellent.
They were happy, I think.
Good.
yeah, so actually what ended up happening is that where we settled on for a paramedic rate, our full-time paramedic actually makes more than that already, so we have to make kind of like a special adjustment in the contract just for that employee.
And I had already I knew they were doing negotiations when I did the budget, so I had already factored in what I thought would be where they were gonna come in, and it wasn't a whole lot different than what I kind of thought was gonna happen, so.
Excellent.
Right, so for EMT salaries, based off of the chief's request, we only had to increase that budget by $5,000 roughly. The overtime budget was a little bit more of an increase from $15,000 to $22,500. And then the EMT stipends, because stipends was another part of the contract that we settled on, that had to be adjusted to reflect the different certifications that our EMTs have. And then what the chief did under the fire department budget is that he moved for our fire inspector, he moved that employee salary all under the fire department, which is why there's such an increase over FY22. And then based off of where we settled on the contract, we had to increase that number as well.
Okay.
And I had presented that in my original budget, that
Yep.
change had been presented.
Yes. So those are the only adjustments for his budget. But I think what we really want to discuss tonight is the capital expense plan that was in everybody's packet. So we have 3 requests from the fire department, which includes an ambulance, the engine replacement, and HVAC replacement at Station 2. And so I asked the chief to come tonight to really just advocate for his need for that equipment, specifically, the ambulance and the engine 5 replacement, because I think he can explain the need the best for the community. And then, we can talk about some of our options for financing as well.
The financing, that's what's the best.
So, I know this is a lot of money, and they're not getting cheaper.
Oh,
They're getting more expensive every single month. The biggest issue with the fire truck and ambulance right now is the build time. So I actually was on the phone with the manufacturers today. If we, from the date of a contract signing, it's gonna be 24 months to get a truck. So looking at the long-range plan,
Yeah,
we need a truck last year to replace our 1990 from Station 2, and it's gonna take 2 years if we bought one tonight. Obviously, with the state of the economy and ARPA money being available, a lot of departments have bought them up. There are no demo trucks. You know, they make occasionally demo trucks that they go around the country and show off. Those are not available, those have been purchased. Ambulances, there's no used ambulances, and there's no demo ambulances out there, and with the chip shortage on chassis, the ambulance shortage isn't due to the building of the trucks, it's due to they can't get cabs. So as soon as they get a chassis, the chassis are already earmarked, and that was the issue we had run into when we bought our new ambulance in 2000, last year. We bought it in July of 20, and we got it in October of 21. Now we're looking at 24 months for an ambulance. So the average life expectancy, I think, for us, for an ambulance is about 6 years. I mean, they get beat up. Obviously, a majority of our transports are to Worcester. It's about a 25-mile transport. Even our transports to Haywood and Gardner, depending on where you're coming from in Barre, it's the same distance, believe it or not, as going to Worcester. And, you know, we do go to Athol, which is a little shorter, but, you know, a lot of our patients go to Worcester. So our ambulances do take a beating, the state of our roads as well. And, you know, not just our roads, but all the
Worcester
roads
County,
are pretty beat up. So our ambulance one is a 2016. And so, you know, that puts it at about 7 years now, but it's gonna be it'll be 6 this November. So that's about its life expectancy. You know, having the new truck has greatly helped, but, you know, we're starting to, that's getting used as well. So the thing with the ambulance is, even, you know, if we bought one today, we're not gonna have it for 2 more years. So long range, looking at it, we need to sign a contract at some point. Same with Engine 5, so we have 2 fire stations, the one in the center of town, and the one in South Barre. The Engine 5 in South Barre, they have 2 fire trucks there. Engine 5 was bought by the town brand new in 1990. In 2004, it was rehabbed, making it, you know, essentially like a newer truck. They updated the body work, so it's was in fairly decent shape. It was on the capital plan to be replaced when we got our new engine in the center of town, because that engine broke and was unrepairable. So our replacement plan got a little skewed because the newest truck we had just died and broke. So we never ended up replacing Engine 5 down in South Barre. There's 2 fire engines in South Barre, and I obviously at the cost of a new fire engine being absorbently high, I think we're in a position where we could buy a brand new, when it comes to a fire truck, they're specialized, they're spec to the town. We know our fire station situation, so we can't just buy any truck. We have specific sizing requirements to fit in the station. We do have some unique needs as far as how much water we carry, the way we carry our hoses, the equipment. So every fire truck is a custom-built, you know, it's a specialized custom-built truck. Our 1987 died in 2017, the motor had blown, and we had got $100,000 to buy a used truck, and we bought a used one. It was kind of a Band-Aid, and that truck's been the first out truck in South Barre ever since the 2003.
2003 is what that one?
Yes, and then we bought that in 2017. It was a used truck, and it's a good truck, and it's, but there's a lot of things about it that aren't conducive to how we do things in Barre, and it was just the truck that was available for the money, and that's what we got. We needed a truck. So I think we're in a position where we need to buy a spec truck, and then once we have a new truck in South Barre that's spec'd for Barre, I'm fully comfortable at, you know, replacing the other engine with another used truck. I don't think we need, you know, to have 2 brand new trucks. We could find a used truck. Used fire engines now are, for anything that's not rotted or in bad shape, are around.
You would think with all the replacements though
100,000.
under ARPA that there would be some used ones out there.
maybe in
There
2
is.
years,
Yeah.
right?
Oh, that's right, we're waiting 2 years to
Right.
get it.
There
Yeah.
is, however, because we're very limited on what we can purchase because of size.
Right.
You don't wanna buy any used trucks from New England because they're all rotted. and,
Arizona would be the place.
Most fire departments buy a truck and they run them for 20 or 25 years. They don't, some departments have 10 years, they buy a new engine all the time. Those are hard to find because as soon as they come available, somebody
Oh,
scoops
yeah.
them up. So
Yeah.
when it comes to used fire trucks, having some money set aside and being able to hold out and say, okay, we can wait, and then when we find the right one, being able to purchase it right away. We weren't in that situation in 2017, we needed a truck, we got the one we got that is a good truck, I'm not saying it's not, but, it's only got 500 gallons of water, and, that's not a lot of water, 1,000 is what our other trucks are. So I think if we were to replace engine 5, the next truck, we could certainly get a used truck, we wouldn't need to buy a brand new one, and we'd be in a good position. This truck is a little bit more expensive, it's not a bells and whistles truck, but it's got some money invested in, the body, and we got galvanized frame rails for corrosion. So we spent a little extra money on the truck we bought, so it would last 30 years. I think we were trying to look and say, okay, we need to build a truck that'll last 30 years. We can certainly get a cheaper truck that, may last 15 or 20, but I think, for this number, it's actually probably gonna be closer to 700,000 now, I believe. The price has gone up 14% since the last time I submitted these numbers. The plan is to try to keep the truck, the identical truck we bought at Station 1, so both of the trucks, for maintenance purposes, are the exact same. For the mechanic, you can just order one set of filters, everything's the same. For the firefighters, knowing that all the equipment's the same. So that price is 700,000, actually. Don't shoot the messenger, I don't make.
Oh, I know, you don't build them.
It's crazy to think, because when we bought our new fire engine 4 in 2020, or in 2019, it was 525,000, so it's gone up that much, $175,000 in almost 2 years. But again,
Yep.
we're in the situation we're in.
Yep.
I know I've been talking with Jess a lot about financing options. When it comes to the fire truck purchase, if you do a lease purchase with the companies, they have I think their interest rates are probably more competitive than bonding, some of the bond rates. You don't have to make the first payment until the truck is received. So if it's, 2 years out, we don't have to actually pay that first payment for 2 years. And then we had talked about maybe setting some money aside at each town meeting as part of the payment to try to help offset like a 7-year lease purchase or a short-term financing. They do all sorts of different years, durations of leases. Could certainly buy it, if the town wanted to bond it, they can certainly pay for it outright as well.
That same type of financing is available for the ambulance and for the engine?
Yes, yep, and, depending on how the town wanted to try to finance it, I think 700,000 to pay in one lump sum is a substantial amount of money.
Now, is there any benefit to us, because I know we've talked about different purchasing, like different pieces of apparatus, so if we were to purchase the engine and the ambulance, do those come from the same company and then we get a discount for purchasing them both?
So the engine and the ambulance that we would buy are from the same, they're not from the same manufacturers, but they're from the same dealer. So if you buy both at the same time, there is a cost savings, because they're gonna make their commission the same if it's 2 or 3 trucks or one truck, so there is a difference. The way the numbers have been changing, they haven't really given me what that significant, if it's
Yeah.
10,000, 15,000, it wouldn't be much more than 15 or 20,000, which is still, a decent amount of money, don't get me wrong. The ambulance includes the power stretcher and a power loader, and that itself is about $50,000. So I think that number actually may be closer to 365,000. Again, everything's kind of gone up. There is probably no trade-in value for either fire truck or ambulance. we would probably get $2,500 or $3,000 trade-in, so it's kind of negligible.
Scrap price. Huh?
Yeah, nobody's gonna buy a 1990 fire truck or our ambulance, that's pretty rough. I mean, I know it's a lot of money, but I think the situation we're in now is that rather than, in an average year, if you bought an ambulance, you would have it in 6 months in a normal year, 4 to 6 months, which is, reasonable now. Now we're talking 2 years, so to try to plan out, I don't think our ambulance, I'm concerned that our ambulance will make it 2 years. The fire engine, we can keep that thing going. I can't guarantee it'll make 2 years, it'll make a year, but, it's getting older. The biggest issue we have with the engine now is we can't get parts for it. So the door, window is broken, we can't get a window for it, so it's stuck down or it's stuck up, depending on how we have it that day. It's just, they don't make parts for 1990 fire trucks anymore. It's actually older than most of the people in the fire department, which is kind of sad when I think about it. It makes me feel old now. But, I mean, that's the situation we're in as far as the trucks. And again, I know it's a lot of money, but every year we wait, that the build time, I can't see how, in talking to the dealers and manufacturers, they don't foresee it getting better in the immediate future. I mean, at some point when the chip situation and the cabs can start coming back, it should help this, but at least for the next 2 years, it's not gonna change.
So how many trucks do we have?
So we
We
have,
engine 5 is the South Barre truck.
yep, we have 3 fire engines. 2 of them are at South Barre. We have a fire engine in the center of town, and we have a tanker in the center of town. And we have a ladder truck and the rescue truck, and a bunch of brush trucks. Handful, three
Kind of.
three
Kind of
brush
trucks.
Kind of.
What's left of a truck?
So the 1990 fire truck, that's the one in,
That's engine 5, yep.
that's engine 5.
So Barry's always had 6 fire engines, so that's why it says engine 5, because they've always kept, when they've decommissioned some, they've always kept the engines going. So we don't actually have 5 engines, we have 3 engines and a tanker.
So you think you can keep it going for a year or 2, maybe 2?
Yeah, yep.
But
I can't-
what's the next truck? So that's the oldest one you got?
That's
For
the oldest one, that's
1990?
a 1990,
And that new one we got a new one not too long ago.
2019. And then we have, our next one is our engine 6, which is the tanker, is a 1996. That would be the next truck that would need to be replaced. And then we have our other truck at Station 2, the engine 1, which was the used truck, which is a 2003.
So that 2019 fire truck is pretty new. That's
Yep,
uptown
that's the
here.
newest.
And that's engine, which one is
That's
that?
engine 4. So we have engine 1, 4, 5, and 6. We don't have a 2 or 3.
Okay, so engine 4,
Is the
this,
newest.
and that was a 30-year truck, so you think that's good for 30 years?
I
I think that's what you,
I-
did I hear that right?
Yep, that was the plan when we designed it. I mean, in 30 years from now, you can let me know if it still made it, but when we built it, we really,
Yeah, you
Invested-
galvanized the frame, yeah.
and it's a stainless steel body, so we invested in it so it would be a 30-year truck. 'Cause we didn't want to get in a position where, if we had a replacement program where every 10 or 15 years we replace an engine, we could certainly save $50,000 and buy a cheaper truck. I don't want to say cheaper truck, but not have the same quality that we put into it. But we really look to build a 30-year truck, so we've always had a replacement program where, every 6 or 7 years, we would get a new fire engine and keep replacing it. In 1999, we replaced our 81, and then from 1999 forward, we hadn't replaced the fire engine. So our last fire engine was in 1999, and then we bought the 2019, because that engine was the one that did a lot, and it died, it was unrepairable. Well, it was repairable for the same price of buying a new one. It didn't make, any sense. But we learned some stuff about the technology's changed, so the trucks are, definitely corrosion protected.
So the 96, the next one coming up was a 1996 truck.
Correct.
Which one is that?
That's engine 6. That's an
That's
engine,
engine
that's a
6.
tanker, it's got 3,000 gallons of water on it. And I have been,
So that-
submitting grants to try to get these
Yeah.
replaced, and
Oh,
I hope this year was the year, but
So that one you see coming up next, and when do
Yes.
you think you need so this one you're looking to get now is replacing the 1990 engine 5.
Yep,
And when do you think this one, so then in the future,
well, probably 2 years from now.
2
because
years from now,
If it
you're-
takes another 2 years, that'll be 4 to 5 years, so yeah.
okay.
Mm. So is the ambulance we're replacing, that is paid for, right?
No,
I was afraid you were gonna say that.
I didn't know it wasn't until the last finance committee meeting. That one we still hold.
What, yeah,
The one
what's
that we
going
just
on?
got?
That was last year, that was,
No, I believe the chairman had brought that up during my finance presentation. I think he
Yeah.
said there was
I was-
122,000 still owed on it. It took me by surprise, because I was
Because
kind of
didn't
surprised.
I handed that guy the check?
No, that was for the new ambulance.
That's for, oh,
The old ambulance.
The one that we're-
Yeah,
The
the
one that
replacement.
needs
the
to be
twenty
replaced.
sixteen.
Yes.
Yes, yeah, so I don't
Hmm.
know why,
I don't, that was prior
Yeah.
to my time, not sure.
yeah.
So there's a bond out there for it, or? there isn't?
Yes, and so essentially, they did the capital expense
Mhm.
ban.
Ban, right.
And so that kind of
Clumped everything
combined
together, yeah.
everything together. So yeah, so we still owe money on the 2016 that is now 7 years old.
Because we had bought the new one with free cash.
And that,
Yes.
that ban is gonna be retired when, roughly?
Let me look, let me
Yeah.
look.
I believe from my finance meeting, I thought
Yeah.
Dan said it was still like 122,000.
Yeah, it's gonna be a
It
while
was only
before
a
that drops off.
$205,000
Yeah.
truck. Only, I mean, that's still a lot.
So
of money.
this 350 doesn't include that additional,
Exactly.
No,
it's
that's-
not like where you have to pay.
So we're gonna, like regardless of what we do here
Yes.
at this upcoming town meeting, like, we're gonna probably be paying on this ambulance after we don't have this ambulance anymore.
Hmm.
Oh.
Yeah.
That's not a good financial situation. is it?
No, it's not. And it's not, and the ambulance isn't the only one
But-
on that list
no,
that we're
but
probably
The
gonna,
ban thing is what really didn't work,
yes,
apparently.
yep, yep,
Because there's several things that are in that.
yes.
And how about ban interest rates? They must be going,
They're very low for this upcoming year.
they haven't gone up 5% or something?
No,
Good.
no, luckily we're locked in for
Oh, okay.
our rates this year. And that's why because we just had it confirmed with our financial advisor this year. So all of the numbers that were
Okay.
presented,
Excellent.
are, the correct numbers. So, yeah, so our combined capital improvement ban, that's the one that has everything on it.
Mhm.
And I just had the list, it's up in my office,
Yeah,
but
that's fine.
there are a lot of things on there
I
that
know.
we're gonna pay on beyond, cause there's like DPW trucks on there, and
Hmm.
yeah, we will be paying on that beyond,
Hmm.
having any of those, so. Hopefully, we don't make those decisions anymore in the
Yes,
future,
exactly.
but that's why I think the chief's, what he's proposed for the plan,
Yeah.
for like a lease purchase makes the most sense because, for the ambulance, if it's a 3-year lease purchase and we're gonna get 5 years out of that ambulance, like we don't have to worry about being upside down
Hmm.
on it.
Right.
And again, the same thing with the engine, a 7-year lease purchase, we're gonna have that ambulance for another 20+ years after we've already paid for it. And I think the best part about this is that, like, as challenging as it is that we're not gonna see this apparatus for 2 years, it gives us that runway
time,
to
yeah.
build up the money. So it's not like, we're not scrambling to find $100,000+ in 2025 to pay
So
for it.
what would the warrant article look like then for this?
Yeah, that's something that
Yeah.
I need to
Scope that out.
scope that out,
That's a
absolutely.
big number, I mean, that's a
Well, no,
scary number.
yeah, it's what it is.
I think
It is
the
what it is.
most important thing that we will have to do at town meeting is like explain to the people that
Mm.
we're not, this isn't $700,000 that is coming out of our pockets today or next year, but it's something that we will have to budget for the year after that. And also the other thing that I want to do is that we're not restricted from using one funding source, but I really hope that we can use ARPA money.
Some ARPA to knock it back.
Yeah, we can use ARPA money, we could use a combination with free cash, with, so to make it less of an impact on the taxpayer at the end of the day.
Good.
One thing I've been talking, we've talked with me and Jess and I quite a bit, is with the lease purchase, and I know there's some people that are for it and against it, but I look at it as if we have 2 ambulances, and if 6 years is the life expectancy of an ambulance, that means we need to buy one every 3 years. If we had a lease purchase, then if we could work that into the budget where we know we have this amount of money, we have to budget for a payment for an ambulance. When that ambulance comes off, we buy a new one at year 3, we just go right in and buy a new one. And then when that one comes in, the first one will be 6 years old, and we have that replacement program. And we just know that payment is just built into our budget. And I think it's easier to budget that way
That'd be
than
great.
for me to come here and tell you I need $365,000 every 3 years. Plus, if we know that's coming up, it gives us that replacement, and then we'd be on a good cycle where we don't have to worry about breakdowns. And the thing that happened, again, with the last ambulance, is we had a 2005 and we had a 2010. They got rid of the 2010, kept the 2005 in 2016 when they bought the new one. So the 2016 replaced the 10, we still had the 05. And then, the last few months that truck was broken. We only had one, and, fortunately Rutland had a third one they let us borrow. And there were days we didn't have any ambulances because both of them were broken. And, it puts us on that replacement plan where we know, okay, every 3 years, we'll get a new ambulance to last 6 years. If something happened financially, we could stretch out a year and say, okay, we can do 1 year without a payment, and we'd be in a lot better shape, And if they were still in decent shape at that point, we would get a more replacement, trade-in value versus we can give you $500 and we'll take it away from you. And I look at the same as the fire engines. If we know, a fire engine could last 30 years, if it was you could stretch that payment out and just do the same thing. This is our replacement plan to purchase a new fire engine, and it's easier to budget numbers-wise, I think. And again,
So you have 3 ambulances? There's 3
No,
ambulances?
we have 2.
We have 2.
we have 2.
Even one of them is brand, one of them we got last year.
Yep, we got in October. And just to give you kind of a taste of what's happened in the last year, I know everybody's familiar, knows what's going on right now, but we purchased the new ambulance. We signed a contract in July 9th of 2020. It was $283,000. We got $285,000. It was $283,000 with the stretcher included. They delivered the truck October 5th of 2021. And the night that the salesman dropped it off, I said, how much to buy this truck tonight? He said $303,000 with the stretcher. December, he called me and said, plan on $312,000. January, he called me and said, it just went to $325,000. And I just hung up the phone with him now, and it's $365,000 for no change, for the same identical truck that we got, that we paid $285,000 for less than a year, in July of 20, I guess. Not, almost 2 years ago. So that's, and with fire trucks and ambulances, in an average year, they go up between 3 to 5%. This has been a crazy year, but, if we didn't do it this year, that number's gonna go up 3 to potentially even more, but 3 to 5% on top of that, and then with the year after that. But the big thing is just the amount of time it takes to get it. God forbid the ambulance broke tonight, which it's a mechanical, and even the new one could break tonight, it could get in an accident.
Sure.
It's gonna be 2 years to get it replaced. And again, the financing doesn't start until the day that it comes in. So if you did a 3-year financing, it'd almost be like 5 years of payment if you stretched it out that way.
So
So
we
they're
could,
making it without having any money down?
Yep.
Yeah,
Really?
because
They're using their money?
we're signing, well,
Well, you sign a contract.
you sign a
You sign a
contract,
contract, but
Yep.
you don't pay anything.
you don't pay anything until the day it's delivered. Now, you can prepay 100% up front, and there is a significant savings to do that, because However, you're putting your money out before the truck, so to me, in this situation, it doesn't make sense to
Yeah.
prepay up front unless you're, some cities and towns, they have that, a large city can buy 2 or 3 fire trucks and pay up front. I don't think that's the best idea. The other thing that does is it kind of guarantees they're gonna build the truck quick because they want to get paid. So they know the longer they delay it, the longer they're sitting on the investment, not us.
Yeah.
So it is what it is.
You gotta buy some stock in there.
So the schedule then with 2 ambulances every 3 years, you're thinking that's the schedule, every 3 years you're buying a new ambulance?
I think so, and then that puts that ambulance would then last 6 years, because, the one you bought today, you buy another one in 3 years, when that one came in, you would be able to switch, so every 6 years, the ambulance would last 6 years. And we try to do our best to rotate them around, so we're not beating one up more than the other, but
And you got one in 2021,
2021, yep.
but because they're telling you it's gonna be 2 years to get it,
So we have a 2016 now, which is 6 years old now, and we have a 2021 that came in. So even now, the one that's 6 years old, if we bought it, if I signed the contract tonight,
Yeah.
it's gonna be 8 by the time,
Right.
and,
And then the new one will be 4.
and
Yeah,
ambulances
yeah.
live a very tough life compared to a fire engine. Fire engines go a mile or 2
Sure.
miles from the station,
Short run.
but our ambulances are, they're getting
Yeah.
160, 170 miles a day, every day. So they get beat up. And they don't live a easy life, you drive as fast as you can to somebody's house, fast as you can to the hospital, you're hitting the potholes, and it's just the nature of what they do.
Are we spending like a set amount of money on maintenance currently for the ambulance that we have, or are they under some sort of warranty that?
So the new one that we got is under warranty, so our town mechanic, we're very fortunate, does a majority of the oil, the general service, the oil changes.
Right.
We have our tires we buy from the tire place, he puts them on the state contract. So we haven't had to invest a ton of money into the new one. The one that we got rid of, the last one, we invested quite a bit. And we do have a maintenance program, so we do the preventative maintenance, but again, when parts break, we can't foresee some of that stuff.
Right, like I'm just wondering if it would be actually cost effective to just get the new one, because that payment would somehow override what we were paying on fixing the other one.
The
Hit
one
on
that we're
that, hit on
gonna,
that one, yeah.
the older one is
Yeah.
gonna start in the next year or two, is gonna start costing us
Hey, here we go.
some money.
Hey, here's going, guys.
But we budget to replace a set of tires every year and.
Right,
shock
right, I
and
meant
stuff
more like,
that.
weird stuff that was happening just because it was old. Like I'm gonna buy a new car because I'm spending $200 a month trying to fix my old car. I might as well just pay $200 a month for my brand new car.
Good,
We're fortunate that our town mechanic can do that now, because without that, when he was out with his
I was gonna
illness,
say, is he healthy now?
he's back.
That's good,
Knock
yeah.
on wood, I'm glad, because for that time he was out, when we had to have, I had somebody come and change 2 sensors in a fire truck motor, it was $1,600 for two sensors. But, nobody could do it but them,
Right.
so it's extremely expensive. And the old one now, we've been kind of holding that as a backup reserve, just because we know it's going to start, it's going to start requiring some maintenance.
That's good.
And you don't want that dying when somebody, you don't want the truck breaking down with patients in the back or on their way to a call.
That would be nice.
Well, I think
It's
that's
happened.
happened.
It has happened. It is a vehicle, so even the new ones break too. So any questions about the Station 2?
How do you get it done so cheap?
I was gonna wonder that.
We are fortunate that some of our firefighters are HVAC technicians.
Wow.
So they were gonna do the work, we were just
That's
gonna
fantastic.
buy the furnace. So the
Wow.
oil burner at Station 2 is a suspended one in the ceiling.
Yeah.
Code doesn't allow that anymore, and we were able to repair it to get through this winter, but it won't make another winter. So we have to get a freestanding one,
Mhm.
and that's what it, and part of that included mini splits. So the oil furnace now heats the training room down, there's a little office down there, that's where we keep our SCBA compressor, and the apparatus bay. So we wanted to get, that uses kerosene because it's got an outside tank, which is more expensive than normal oil,
Yeah.
which I don't even know what that costs today. I don't even wanna know what the cost of it.
$600 a gallon.
it's probably $6 a gallon for kerosene. So part of that was to install some electric mini splits, so the day room area, the training area could be heated without having to use the oil, just off the electricity, and use the oil furnace just to keep the apparatus bay. We have it set to 55, so.
And so the account that I recommend that come out of is it's called the Landfill Stabilization account, and it's an account that was made a long time ago, back when the landfill, the waste management landfill was gonna be set to be closed. The town received a certain amount of revenue every year from having that landfill in town. So essentially what happened was that the town wanted to start putting money aside to offset that lost revenue. And although the town didn't follow through with its plan to reach its goal of like $1 million in that account, you know, there is some money that has been sitting there for a while, and I would like to move all of that money at this town meeting, whether it's to fund something that I think, you know, a project that needs to be done over the summer, like this HVAC project, and then, you know, move that, the remainder of those funds into either our normal stabilization account or into like the capital improvement stabilization account that we created last year to start kind of preparing us to invest in these future projects.
Yeah.
So that money was sitting there, how much is sitting in there?
230.
235.
And it was to offset revenue that we were gonna lose when the landfill closed.
Correct.
And the landfill's been closed for
10 years?
10 years,
11 years?
Longer than that, I think.
Yeah, maybe
Yeah, so-
longer than that.
but we don't need that.
Well, I just think that the money has been set aside in an account and
And
was
we haven't
forgotten
been
about. The
We
money
haven't
was,
been using it over this 10 years.
no, I don't think anybody really knew that the money was there. So I would rather just,
Sounds like
Makes
a
sense to me.
Good idea then.
yeah, I would just rather consolidate our stabilization
yep.
accounts and make it, you know, so we know where the money is.
Yeah, the capital fund, I think, would be the best place to put it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
well, we took
What do you
out
think?
20, right, for the ladder.
Was that out of that?
That came out of capital
Yes.
stabilization,
Oh,
yeah.
Yes, yeah, that got repaired, it's back.
Nice.
But I mean, if we're switching the funds, we should switch them over to that 235 should go into the capital, or whatever's left.
I would say capital stabilization. I mean,
Yeah.
other folks may have different
Yeah,
opinions,
well,
but.
that's.
Yeah. I think I would recommend that we put some money into our regular stabilization account, because we do want to get to, I forget what the percentage is of our operating budget, but to move us that needle a little bit
Okay.
closer to where
Mhm.
we need to be, but then definitely put the majority of the money into the capital improvement one.
That makes sense.
Yeah, we put a good chunk of money in there last year. I think it was about $60,000 that we ended up putting in there, so I just think it would just make sense to keep bulking that account up.
Chief, you were saying that the lease purchase plan, you save how much if you pay cash for these, either one of these things?
It varies, I would have to get an exact number, but I wanna say, when I spoke to them last time, it's maybe 20 to 25,000 for a fire engine, and maybe 8 to 10,000 for an ambulance. It's not significant on the ambulance as it is for the fire engines. But that's if you prepay 100% upfront, which,
We don't have the money to do that.
yeah.
Well, you got a lot in that account. You got that 235,000, but you want to put that toward, you're gonna spend 18 of it for this For the
HVAC
HVAC
project.
system.
Yep.
but you want to just leave it in stabilization.
Yep.
So I mean, the money, because again, you don't have to pay till the truck's in, so for 2 years, you could build a little interest.
Hopefully,
on
we
it.
could build up some,
Yeah.
100,000 or 200,000 or whatever when it comes time to take
Something.
delivery.
Yeah, absolutely.
Well, yeah, I think like, and I apologize for being tardy, and as it's already discussed, but the ambulance, you know, try to get on that every 3-year plan, right?
Yeah,
Yeah,
because I was explaining, I think I explained this.
Yeah,
If I repeat
you did.
myself, just excuse me.
No, please.
You know, a life expectancy for our ambulance is about 6 years.
Mhm.
So, you know, my proposal would be, we get a lease purchase for 3 years, but we always have that payment. So when we get one in, it replaces the ambulance, we buy another one. When that one comes in, the truck's 6 years, we have 2 ambulances. And we just know that we can budget for that payment.
Yeah,
And, you know, obviously, every 3 years, when you get a new truck, the payment numbers would go up a little bit as the trucks cost a
Truck,
little more
no,
money.
no, trucks, what are we talking?
The ambulance.
Ambulance
Yeah.
truck.
So,
Yeah.
you know, if it went up 3 or 4% in the next payment, well,
Yeah.
it goes up, but at least you have a baseline number to budget every year, and that way, we have a good replacement program, and I don't have to keep coming here saying, our truck's broken, we need a
Yeah.
truck.
yeah.
And they
Yeah.
definitely wear out fast compared to the fire engines. Last a long time.
Yeah.
You're not gonna
Right.
Oh, yeah.
do
Yeah.
this very often. We did,
Our ambulances, you know, they get around an average 160 miles a day.
yeah.
So our new one, you know, already
Mhm.
has 30,000 miles that we got in October. And then with that, if you knew that, you could do that, because the build time at 2 years, pre-COVID, an ambulance was 4 to 6 months. From the day you sign a contract till it's sitting in your station is 4 to 6 months, which is relatively quick. Now it's 2 years, and it's not gonna change for at least 2 years
Mhm.
before they catch up, and it could be longer than that by the time everything kind of levels off. So even if you knew that, you could sign the contract and say, okay, you know, we'll sign it at year 1, knowing that we don't have to make that payment for another 2 years out, and then you have that continuous revolving cycle.
Now, how would that work, like, with the town, because you, obviously, the town would have to commit for the full amount somehow, but you could fund it, throughout the 3 years, right?
Yeah, so essentially, and this is kind of a question that Brian had asked earlier, was like, how would we word that in a warrant article? So we would have to, you know, be upfront with the town and say, like, this engine or this ambulance is gonna cost X amount of dollars. But the way that the warrant article, I believe, is gonna have to be written is it gives us the options to finance it. And essentially, the way that it is voted at town meeting is that the taxpayers give us permission to do this, like, borrowing, right? Even though it's a lease purchase, it's still a form of, like, a borrowing. So we wouldn't have to say, like, okay, so it's $700,000 or it's $365,000. We don't have to basically hold that money anywhere, hold that money hostage for any period of time. Essentially, the taxpayers are giving us permission. Yep, we give you permission, and we know that, like, we are gonna incur this cost one way or another, or if it's gonna be offset by a grant or like a gift or something like that. You know, that it just basically gives us permission to, if we have to, like, put the burden on the taxpayers at the end of the day. But what shape or form that takes, that's a different story.
So for the town meeting, you probably would have the numbers, you know, for a lease versus
Yeah.
full payment and so
Yep,
forth.
and I-
Because, I mean, that question will come up, obviously.
Right, and then I think, you know, it would be prudent for us to compare a bond rating,
Rates.
Yeah.
bond
Yeah.
rates versus a lease, and figure out what is the best option.
Run the numbers, yeah.
Right, and that's why I had talked to Sarah, the treasurer collector, about this a couple weeks ago, and so she is going to look into different rates.
Okay,
Yeah,
excellent.
and,
To see what's
you know, we don't
competitive.
have to do a lease purchase with the manufacturer, but they offer some pretty competitive rates.
Mhm.
So again, it's all in how, whatever the best option is at the time.
Yeah, and we just have to remember that in FY, when we go to do FY 25, that we need to add this in our line item.
We just don't want to be in a situation where we are now with your older ambulance.
That's
Yeah, I
what
know,
we're just
I
talking
know.
about. that.
And that's gonna
sad.
be the problem too, because like if say we order this ambulance July 1st, and then we get the ambulance in 2024, our newest ambulance right now is gonna be 4.5 years old.
Yep.
So it's like, we're gonna have to, boom,
yeah.
right?
You have to order, almost have to order it then.
Yeah.
To have that 6-year replacement life.
Hopefully,
Exactly.
pricing stabilizes at some point, you know, maybe.
Yeah.
It comes down a little bit, you know?
Well, I was telling him, we ordered the new ambulance July 9th of 2020.
Yep.
It was 283 with the stretcher. They delivered it October 5th of 21, so last October. And the night they delivered, I said, how much if we bought this tonight? And he goes, 303 with the stretcher. Then he called me in December and said 312. He called me in January and said, 320 something. And then I just talked to him this morning, goes, it's almost 365 with the stretcher, because the stretcher had gone up substantially, so.
Yeah, the market's crazy. Well, I'm doing
Yeah.
the same thing with my job.
Yeah, it's,
Out of control.
and he said, don't be shocked if, July 1st that it's somewhat higher, so I said, well, I mean, we only have so much, we only get so much, so it is what it is.
But they'll lock the rate in.
Yeah, so if you sign, the day you sign the contract, the price is the price, so, even if, they won't start building it for over a year, we're not gonna see any increase in the price because we signed a contract saying this is the price we agreed to at that night. It is a substantial amount of money, so, but like I said, I think if we got one new engine at Station 2 in Southbury, the next one could be a used truck. I think we'd be in a position where a used truck would be perfectly fine. I don't think we need to have two brand-new trucks down there, but we definitely need to have one spec truck for Southbury.
And that's we talked about that the last time you came, right? That was your third engine or fourth engine?
So we have three engines and a tanker. We call it an engine. It's a tanker. So two of them are at Southbury, two engines. The engine, the new one we got, and the tanker are up here in the center of town, and then the ladder truck and the rescue. A ladder truck, I don't advocate that we ever buy a brand new ladder truck. I mean, I would love for you to buy us a brand new one, but the cheapest brand new ladder truck is about 1.1 million right now. And we just don't use it enough to justify. I think we can always get a quality used one, just for, the amount that we use that truck. A second engine at Station 2, I think we could get a used truck, but to have one spec truck at Station 1 and one spec truck at Station 2, we'd be in good shape. And you wouldn't have to listen to me ask for money every town meeting.
It'd be good for 30 years.
And again, this number, I mean, I can tell you right now, we can buy fire trucks for less than that, but we really invested on the last truck to some, I don't want to call them bells and whistles, because they're not bells and whistles, but we invested in the galvanized frame rails, we upgraded to a stainless steel truck to last 30 years.
Mhm.
So we can get probably 30 years out of these trucks. And the one we're replacing now is 32.
Yep.
It
That's
was-
a full replacement?
Yeah.
Okay.
And that got rehabbed in 2004, so that's why it's made it to last 32 years. And I can't remember how much it was to rehab it, but I think it was over 100,000.
How many ambulance manufacturers are
Four or five,
there? Yeah.
and there's about 6 or 7 fire truck manufacturers for the whole country.
So who are you using?
The company we had just gone
West
with was Road Rescue. They're out of Florida. We used Horton. There's only, like I said, I think there's 4
Yeah.
or 5. All on an ambulance, the cabs are just Dodges, Fords,
Yeah.
Chevys, and then the ambulance companies build the bodies. The fire trucks, they build 100% from scratch.
Interesting scenarios.
So it is.
So how much do you pay a year? So if it's a lease system, if you go with this lease plan, then you're gonna pay a certain amount a year?
Yep, for the
This
7
This
years.
isn't this is divided up over 3 years, or?
So that 350 or
7 years,
365
7
would.
year for the fire truck.
Yep, so the number for the
years.
fire truck, the lease payment, there is whatever the interest fee is, would just be basically 7 payments of that money, starting on the day that you received ownership of the truck. So if you order the truck now, it's almost like, you could almost look at it like a 9-year payment, because if you put some money aside for 2 years, say, here's our payment, you actually don't have to make the first actual payment on the lease. They call it a lease purchase. At the end, you just own the truck. You don't buy it out. You just own it outright. We did that with our cardiac monitors. They were 64 grand a few years ago. We did a 3-year lease purchase, and I just put that in my budget. And then at the end of the last payment, we just owned them. So, same with the ambulance. If you did a 3-year lease purchase, and you could, this year you could say, okay, we'll make it a 5-year, but you're not really paying it. If you looked at it that way as well, because it'd be 2 years before we'd have to make that payment, or 20 months or 21 months, whatever that build time is. hopefully not longer than 24 months, but
Mhm.
gonna check with the people.
Online, see if they have any questions.
You folks online have anything?
Claire joined us?
Oh, see, I wasn't sure if she was in or not. I was like,
Yeah, no, she must have joined us a little late.
Give a coffee break.
No questions here.
Okay, good.
I'm all set, thank you.
what about the fire station, the new,
Oh,
you weren't gonna get away without asking about that.
I think given like the situation that we're in, we might want to just revisit the fire station project at like a special town meeting or,
Mhm.
because right now we don't have, the
Yep.
capacity to be talking about any other purchases.
right.
Understood.
Yes.
So
We're not gonna let it.
I would say, no,
Yeah,
no,
still
no,
gonna
trust
go
me,
forward.
it's on
Yeah.
my plate every single day. I'm not gonna,
You're not gonna talk about it at town meeting, but
no.
the impact on the overall financing of the town is gonna be what? So it's gonna be some big amount of money.
It's gonna be a substantial.
For the fire station?
Yeah.
Yeah. That's gonna be a big one.
So they're not telling you exactly what's the plan.
Well,
We
we
know
have,
what the plan-
we know what,
we know
yeah,
the
we know what
numbers.
the plan is. It's about finding out how to finance the plan. So a couple weeks ago, I met with the state senators team. The chief was gonna join me, but there was, of course, those emergencies that happen in town. So they're helping coordinate a meeting with like USDA, so we can talk about financing, because we're gonna need their help from, beginning to end to think about how we finance this project without a bond rating, so.
And we're-
Yes,
and
we're
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 still
gonna get
working
that.
on-
We
next
will,
year.
yes, well, it's gonna take a couple years
2
to,
years.
Take a couple?
2 years,
yeah,
probably.
yeah, it's
And
gonna
we-
take a couple
and
years.
we've been working on trying to secure funding outside of the tax base, so
That's gonna be the biggest
Right.
thing,
That's
right? We
always an
don't,
option.
yeah, we don't want to, incur all of that debt just for the taxpayer. So there's definitely options for us to help offset those costs eventually.
And I have put in for a grant to replace the engine, and we should start hearing the awards of those grants soon. They gotta be expended
This
by,
engine.
yeah, the grant money's gotta be awarded before July 1st, so I'm hoping in the next couple of weeks, maybe we'll hear and we'll get lucky and we'll see what happens. I'm hopeful, but I'm hopeful every year we have.
Well, thanks for
Yeah.
trying.
I was
That's
just
gonna
the
say,
one
if
thing.
right.
if there's anything that the chief has done, he's trying.
Yeah.
We're trying, we'll plead the case and.
Like he puts the effort in.
I can say we're not in the greatest shape, but there's departments that are in far worse shape, so we're still doing pretty good
Yes.
for now. All right, any other questions?
Good. Appreciate it, yeah.
It's a lot, I know it's a big number, so it's not getting any less.
Gotta have the protection,
Yeah,
otherwise.
yeah, especially in South Barre, I mean, that truck's primarily, I mean, it goes all over town, but it's primarily to be the first truck down there, so.
Okay, good.
They got new sidewalks in South Barre.
Yeah.
They look
Yeah.
beautiful.
Yeah.
Oh
It's
my
looking
gosh,
good
they
down
look
there.
so
Got access
good.
to the hydrants, all right, and everything?
And they're getting new roads out there,
Yeah,
so
the road's
it's
coming along.
looking good.
All right,
Thank you very much.
Thank you very
Thank you
much.
so much.
Thanks,
have a
Chief.
good night.
You as
You
well.
as well.
Supper time.
You okay? So, calls.
Yeah.
All right, where were we?
So did you guys do the capital A of the fire?
We just did the fire department
Sorry.
and then the couple of articles for the fire department.
Okay, cool. Yeah. So just roll along, right?
Great. Those are the only ones that I recommend we take any action on at this town meeting anyways. So for the 250th committee, I would say we wait until we get our free cash certified in the summer, and then in the early fall, have a special town meeting, because we'll have our free cash then. And then we look at funding some of these other items. So 250th made their request. It also gives them more time to do some fundraising and see where they come in at over the summer. The OPEB contribution I had originally included in our operating budget, but took out, because, you know, maybe another year we rolled that into our operating budget, and that this year we just keep it to free cash. And then, Felton Field, again, I'm gonna recommend that we wait till special town meeting, but there might be something else in the works that will take that off our plate entirely too, so.
And that's it for financial, articles that have come forth so far?
That's what I've gotten so far. This is everything that has been presented to us through those capital request forms. There are a couple of other financial related articles that I am aware of. So the police department, the police department has a couple of revolving accounts open. One is for a canine cruiser, and then the other one is to collect fees for the details they do up at Barre Falls Dam. So the new chief does not have like a canine program in his short-term or long-term planning. So he wants to roll that money into the Barre Fall Dam account, which is a cruiser replacement account. So I think it'll be this next fiscal year, he will have enough money in that account to replace a cruiser. So it does take quite a few years for us to like get to that point to replace
Yeah.
a whole cruiser. I think that this is gonna be the first cruiser that they replace with that account, and it's been open, I wanna say, maybe 5 or 6 years.
Yeah, 'cause it's a flat rate, right, the town gets for
Yep.
the detail?
Yeah, the federal government gives them, whatever for doing the
Which
details up there.
They're chasing inflation there too, I'm sure.
Yeah, right.
You know, we got 32,000 and the cruiser's 35. And
Yeah.
35 is 40.
Yeah, I don't think they're going up the costs are escalating as quickly as these other pieces of apparatus we talk about. But they definitely, you know, you're looking at, instead of 50,000, probably 55,000 for a new cruiser. So that's one of the other financial articles, and then I want to say that's all that I know of at this point. There was going to be another article that was going to be presented, but the department didn't have enough time to go through the public hearing process and everything. It's just a fee related to trash hauling that they want to impose, but they have to go through a whole public hearing process, and then they can get it on the warrant. So I just told them to hold that off till special town meeting. But other than that, I think we're looking in good shape. The Senate did come out with their budget today, about like 10 minutes after we met.
Really?
I got an email that they came out, so I don't know what the final numbers are going to be for Barre, but they did increase the general government aid account. So I do expect for us to see more revenue coming from the state, which will be good.
Great. Good.
So overall, I think we're looking good. The biggest thing is going to come down to what the schools do.
Yeah, it's always gonna be, it's gonna be an expensive one.
Yeah. So,
And, I know we talked about earlier, what about so the sidewalks, those articles are being used up
yep.
because with the sidewalks being replaced down in South Barre, those older articles, but there is still a few articles we need to clean up,
Yep,
that we should clean up at this town meeting, right?
absolutely.
With, at least the 20-year-old, in my opinion, the 20-year-old bridges, and then the town hall
Right.
roof.
Yep, and that one we definitely knew was going to be,
So that'll give roughly like, at least on the 50,000 side.
I think what is gonna end up happening though is that we have to release that money, and then it's gonna be rolled into our free cash.
Free cash, or, because what we did with the senior center, as we moved it over to the stabilization.
Right. So, well, that's the other option is it's either, but we can't say you know, we can't vote it to go to another project immediately.
No, but you could vote money out of stabilization to a project and vote that money to stabilization.
Right, yep,
So it
that's
just
true.
offsets, right?
Yep.
Just moving the shells, you know?
Yeah.
Semantics. As the fire chief famously says to me, oh, it's semantics.
So that's an option to possibly, you know, fund something
Yep,
here or partially fund something.
yep,
Or again, just put it in stabilization and wait until special.
yep. Yeah, I don't think there's any harm in waiting until special town meeting at this point.
What about you folks? Any questions online?
No, sounds good to me.
All set, thanks.
And the revenue, I guess, huh?
Yeah, we don't really have much. We didn't get the new revenue reports yet, right?
Not from Jean. I did include like my revenue sheets,
Okay.
in the
Yeah, I
the
saw
packet.
those, yeah.
So those are, at this point, they're just estimates. And I.
So which line
as-
would be the one where you said the state was gonna increase something?
It's called the Unrestricted General Government Aid, UGGA.
And what do you think it went up? So this is the whole number that's in here.
We don't know yet.
I won't know until probably I would say tomorrow, maybe, but definitely by Thursday, I should know what that is gonna be increased to.
And that still has to get voted and passed. And
Yeah, so
Signed.
essentially, this is just the Senate's proposal, and then it goes to like conference committee, and they debate, and then they debate some more, and then you get a final budget out of that. But I think traditionally, what the Senate comes out with is like a pretty trustworthy number.
And as long as the governor agrees and signs, right?
Yeah.
So your number in the budget is pretty close to the revenue with the adjustment at the 4% for the schools.
Yes. Yes.
We're only in trouble if the schools they can't adjust their budget down, or they don't get the funding that they're asking for from the state.
Right.
Then we'll need to figure that out.
Well, so I think what happens is essentially if we can't meet their budget request, and at least one other town in the district can't meet their budget request, and it fails at town meeting, then the schools have to level fund their budget going into the new fiscal year, and then they can come back and try to present like a new budget for the towns to pass. And then if that doesn't work out, then it gets brought to the Department of Education, and the Department of Education basically sets the school's budget, and that's like point blank what we have to pay. Hopefully we don't get to that point.
Right.
But we'll see what happens, and it is my intention to meet with the superintendent and the other member towns to kind of discuss like how we're all feeling about
Yeah.
this. And, you know, as they told us, you know, they know that it's not, like, what they have presented to us is not what the towns can afford. So I think they're being reasonable and recognize that, like, we're in this situation too. We're all in this together.
And they did shave down, if anyone read the Barre
Yeah.
Gazette, so they shaved it down a little
We'll
bit.
talk about that.
Okay. But still, the town, instead of 13%, I think it's like 11.4%, it's still,
Yeah.
it's a big number.
Yeah.
It's a big,
Yeah.
it's a number that we can't afford.
Yeah, Jess, you've got
with this-
3%, not 4, right?
I think,
You've got 3 on here.
yeah, I've been bouncing between 3 and 4%, but
I like the 3.
I,
like the 3.
yeah. I think that, well, actually, that is 3.5%. That's what,
Oh,
it just
okay.
shows up as
Rounded.
3%, but it is 3.5%.
It'd be nice, I mean, considering the economic climate, it'd be nice if they could sharpen their pencils a little bit and bring it down a little bit more reasonable, and hopefully the state does their job and gets additional funding. I was reading that the transportation account didn't come in where they wanted it to, right?
Yep.
And then, you know, some just general funding situations.
Yeah, as you can imagine, transportation is huge
Yes.
with the cost of fuel right now. And rural schools get it worse because all of our kids are so spread out everywhere.
Yeah.
That those buses have to travel a lot further in order to get the kids to school than in an urban environment. So rural schools really kind of get the brunt of it.
Any question? You guys have anything on revenue or budget expenses up there?
I don't have anything about today. I apologize, 2 weeks ago I got stuck bargaining. I was still at work at like 8 o'clock at night. Did the library ever come back?
Yeah.
Did they?
That was the last one.
Yeah, so they came back at that lower budget, so down from the 20% or whatever. Yeah, they brought it down, I think it was like 11.4%. And it will, their adjusted budget, they were able to shift a few things. They were able to move the funds from the modems or the hotspots over to that 19%, so it wasn't adding to the budget, and then you need to have that 19% on top of that, so that saved a little bit. And it is gonna allow them to open on Fridays, again, limited hours, but I think it brings them up to 32 hours, if my memory serves me correct, from 29 hours on that. And they were also able to adjust, instead of having 2 static associates on each floor, they're gonna run with 1 and a floater to kind of move as needed, you know, to adjust to their patrons. So I was, my personal opinion is I was pleased with the adjustments. I think they're kind of in a tough spot. Percentage-wise, it is a high number, but dollar-wise, it's not a significant amount, but because their budget is a little bit on the low side, you know, $30,000 looks like it's a high percentage.
Yeah. The reason I asked, it came up at work. I won't name the town, but they weren't going to fund the overtime with money. They were going to fund it with, they wanted to give them comp time in lieu of working. And so I asked around my coworkers, and it seems to be a problem with a lot of smaller towns with the libraries.
Yeah, I don't think they're banging out too many overtime hours over there, but I could be wrong, you know.
I didn't see an overtime
Yeah, I don't think they don't have an OT budget.
You know.
They just closed.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, if there's something else, we can move on, right?
Yeah.
That's it.
All right, capital requests, we kind of already covered that, capital improvement. Move on to old business. I read through the minutes.
But,
What did we miss something?
well, budget expenses.
Oh, sorry. I thought
I was, yeah, when I was looking at the sewer and the water,
Okay.
and, you know, one only shows 35% has been spent,
Okay.
and sewer is only 58%.
Right.
And, is that normal?
I would have to look back
Hmm.
to see what they were at last year.
I mean, are the bills getting submitted correctly so that Gene can issue the checks and so forth? Is that the reason that it's way behind?
There could be a delay in them getting invoices out
Right.
to the accountant. Let me see, what else do we have?
that is a bottom line percentage though, so you have,
Right.
you have like the truck,
I was just gonna say.
60,000, you know, you have that equipment on the sewer, you have that equipment we talked about from 2018 that they haven't utilized. I know they were looking for another 10 for the truck on the sewer account. My thought
Right.
is a truck kind of qualify as equipment, right?
Mhm.
Take that 10 out of the equipment. You can't do it on the water side, but you can do it on the sewer side. But you have all those rollover accounts, right?
The
So-
water upgrade is the big
Yeah,
one.
you got this, you got the water upgrade. Well, that's that wastewater, that's that article we talked about earlier, that 14,000 too. Wastewater treatment plant.
Right.
And then,
Wait, are you talking about the water budget?
oh no, I'm on sewer still.
Oh, okay, I was on water.
So those are gonna drive your percentage down, but if you look at each line, you know, like the salaries,
The
right?
salaries are good, yeah.
Yeah, you get down to the operating expenses.
Right.
So, see, they had a carryover 7,400 budget of 2,500. They're at 157, and they have about 100,000.
Mhm.
You know, 60%. We still have 2 full months basically. They probably haven't put anything in there, so that's
Well,
probably.
I just, you
Yeah.
know, as long as the bills are getting submitted and so forth, that's the only question I have.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not sure about the bills, but
Right.
that's the reason, because I looked at that before, with that
Yeah.
bottom line percentage, I'm like, but with their account, when they have an overage, right, that rolls over to revenue,
Yep.
correct? And then that gets added to the revenue at town meeting. So that's also something you gotta
their-
think about for like the last
Right.
couple of years, the sewer revenue, because they had that bonds close out, has been rolling over. Once the new loan goes into place, that revenue stream is now gonna get pulled away from the town. And it's gonna get paid there, so the town, will, you know, have to figure out how to find $150,000 or so, you know, in 2 years or 3 years, whatever. Whenever that gets implemented.
Okay, that's good. Continue on, yeah.
And the water, I think the water department, they have that huge water upgrade account where they have spent 0%.
Keep rolling it over, yeah.
Yeah, they
Yeah.
have spent 0% out of, you know, the $424,000. When you think about a $600,000 budget, kind of
Yeah,
a,
that's true.
that's why that percentage is so low.
Don't they have that on like, they have something on the capital plan though, right, that they wanna, that's a fairly expensive piece, was it water?
Yeah.
I think in a couple of years, they were trying to build that account up to not have to borrow money. I remember, we asked Jason about that at one point, I forget.
Right.
Yeah, it's good.
You guys have anything on the budget expense reports?
I do not.
Great, now we can move on to, old business, right? No, you don't need a real approval of the minutes from last meeting, April 26th. 1992.
Make a motion, we accept the meeting minutes of April 26th.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
I,
All right. Reserve funds, we talked about that last time, nothing changed, right? No,
No, we're gonna go.
it's gonna change, I'm
After the
confident.
town meeting.
I'm confident, yeah, exactly, I mean, we're so jammed up, it's, after the town meeting. And then ARPA, was there anything new on ARPA? I did a survey.
I was gonna say, I don't know how many
What?
of you have seen the survey. I can send it out. I haven't sent it out through email yet.
Right.
But I did post it up to the town website and
I tried to
everything.
get it on the website, though, it wouldn't download. I just,
It shouldn't it should just be a link that opens in a new
yeah, but you
webpage,
gotta
but.
type it in?
No,
Yeah,
you
it's
should
not
be-
highlighted on the
Oh,
town website.
well, maybe you have to just copy and paste the link and post
Well,
it in the.
yeah, that's too involved.
Right? Jeez. I'll have to look at that and see, what the issue is.
It seemed
but-
like the questions were kind of general, too, though.
Yeah, I kept the questions pretty general. I guess like the meat and potatoes of what I wanted to get to is like that open-ended question at the end that said like,
Yeah,
if you could spend, you know, like what would you like to see done with this money? So I have gotten about 30 responses so far,
Good.
and they are, you know, some good input. There's definitely people who are friends of our fire and police department. So that's
All the
definitely
employees, right?
Yeah.
so that's definitely apparent, but there's
sure.
there's people who are asking for parks and for broadband and for those type of things,
Yeah.
so, so,
Broadband's good. I feel like though, today, my phone was switching between 4G and 5G, so I feel like Verizon's like on the verge of putting 5G, like they're testing it or something right now in town.
Oh, wow.
Because I was getting a 5G signal at my house today, so.
did you feel like superpowers or?
Yeah, super speed.
I got COVID. It's how it happens. Anyways, so I mean, broadband's obviously important. I did share it with another group on social media, and I don't know if anybody actually paid attention to it, but it would be nice if more than 30 people of a town of 5,000, 5,500, participated, to get a good overall. Do you have an idea of wait until after town meeting to try to do?
That's when I was being ambitious when I said this sometime this month, but we've already had to add like an additional select board meeting and dealing with the warrant and everything. So I think we might just have to wait until after town meeting to fully flesh all of this out. The reason why I wanted it to be before town meeting was to discuss like the ambulance and the fire truck, to say like, to get a better feel as to whether we were going to be able to commit some ARPA money to those projects. So when we did get to town meeting, we could explain like, our plan to incorporate like a certain percentage of dollars or, from ARPA and like what it would end up costing the taxpayers. But I just don't think that's going to be a reality.
Well, be ready for questions though,
Yeah.
about, the ARPA money and what's happening with it, because people want to spend it.
I want to spend it.
Spending it's not the problem. It's do you spend it? Do you spend it on an apparatus and and
Right.
or something like an ambulance? I mean, my opinion, like maybe an engine or partial fund it. The ambulance though, that's something that just goes so quickly.
I agree.
I feel like the town needs to get used to paying for that as an expense.
I agree.
But the more expensive apparatuses, absolutely.
So,
Anything else for you guys?
Do you have to go on, Jess, do you have to go on the website to get that, to fill out that survey?
So it's on our Facebook page and it's also on the website. It's on our homepage. You do just have to copy and paste the link into the browser. Go that extra step.
I just filled it out.
Oh,
It was
great.
pretty easy.
thank you, Corey.
Yeah, thank you.
Make that 31.
Yeah, 31.
You'll enjoy my recommendation.
Okay.
Give it to the employees of the town.
Oh, I have a feeling I know what that is.
Oh, yeah.
The answer is no.
It's funny, there's a few more towns that are giving out, Chicopee just did it, some form of, I was in Sturbridge today, police and fire was getting like a COVID recognition bonus. Few towns are doing it, there's not many.
Yeah.
And then some towns did it and did it incorrectly, like, was it Methuen? or I think Methuen gave it out and they had to pay it back because they didn't do it properly.
Oh yeah, I heard about that.
Like 126 grand they had to pay back from the state.
That's because I think they did it out of the CARES Act.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm amazed at how disproportionate the money's given out. You got like Springfield at 96 million. They got 36 million for their school departments, and then our school department got what 50? What did they say? 56,000 or something like that. It's pretty
Yeah, it
crazy.
was a small number, but Springfield. I think Springfield. I mean, they have a higher amount of basically poor, lower income
Yeah,
children.
yeah.
So on that aspect, they're gonna get more. 'Cause it's also such a big school district too. So many students.
Yeah, I don't know what the formula was for the ESSER money, but I think the formula for ARPA was proportionate to your population.
Yeah. I believe our next meeting, 2 weeks, right? And then we're gonna be on the marathon schedule. We talked about, so, but the next meeting, the plan is to provide our opinion on each item in the budget, vote on it, right?
Yeah, so the warrant will be ready and you guys can give your recommendations for favorable or unfavorable.
On the
May 10th.
budget.
On the budget and everything else on the warrant. You should be.
Oh, on the town meeting too?
Yep.
So I thought we were doing that as a separate meeting after,
Well,
After
the
the-
select board will have approved the warrant the 23rd of May.
oh, okay.
So, I mean, you guys, if you guys want to do it, then you guys can.
Because we put in that extra meeting between,
So I have one on the 24th.
Yeah, so the
24th.
24th is our next regularly
Okay.
scheduled meeting, so, we can definitely do the budget recommendation and,
the warrant won't be wrapped up for us by the 24th. It
yeah.
will?
Yep, yeah, the warrant will be signed on the 23rd. So,
Okay.
I think, actually, what we had discussed at the last meeting was that you guys will have the opportunity to review the warrant, but that meeting could be like the opportunity for you guys to, like, maybe ask questions about it, like anything you don't understand. That meeting can be the opportunity for you guys to get more, like, more information on what you don't already know about. I mean, it would be great if, like, we present the warrant, there's nothing crazy on there, we can go through it in one night and you guys can make your recommendations, so we don't have to have that extra meeting, but,
Yeah, I think it depends on how many articles we get, right?
Yep.
As I said last time, if, we might have to have some due diligence, because if, I prefer, like, how the planning board presented all those articles last year, and it's kind of hard to offer, a good favorable, unfavorable. So if we need time to wrap our arms around it, I really would like to get away from, I would prefer if the finance committee either for or against each of the articles and provide the town
Yeah.
what our recommendation is, whether it's finance related or not finance related. And just offer, and get away from, do our absolute best not to be in a position where we don't offer a recommendation,
Yeah.
There may be an instance, like if we can't get the information, and what are you gonna do? In my opinion, I would say I'd either probably say, all right, I have no information, I can't be favorable to that, But that would be my goal, is to, again, not have, move away from the no recommendations and just take a firm stance, either yay or nay.
I agree.
Was there anything else for like general discussion? Everybody have anything? So we'll meet next week, go over the budget. We'll see what comes
Not
next week. I'm sorry. Again, we're skipping a week, coming back on the 24th. Then the 31st will be the public hearing. Do we have a location?
The senior center.
Senior Center public hearing again, 6:30 PM, May 31st. So we'll be there for that. And then we'll keep the schedule for the 7th and we'll play it by ear.
Yeah.
Okay.
If we have to offer additional recommendations on articles and do it on, above and beyond finance, we'll do it on the 7th. Then town meeting at Ruggles Lane
Yep, at 6:30.
at 6:30 PM on June 14th.
January.
June 14th.
That'd be a special.
Ugh.
June 14th, Flag Day.
Flag Day.
Flag Day,
Yeah,
so.
that's right.
So we didn't get the air-conditioned auditorium?
No, I mean, there's still the opportunity that we could change it to Quabbin. I don't know. I feel like it's unfair because, like, the other towns in the district can't use Quabbin High School as their
Oh.
town meeting place,
Oh, I
so.
see.
Well, we
I see,
pay,
but we pay the budget.
pay the
Yeah,
biggest, we pay a bigger percentage.
Yeah,
No, not necessarily, but
yeah.
anyway, no problem. We'll sweat it out.
So,
Maybe.
literally, right?
Yeah, oh,
What do you guys do at
Figure-
Ruggles, inside the calf? Or the
The gym.
The gym?
That's where it's
Yeah.
usually, traditionally has been.
Another gymnasium, huh? I haven't I experienced,
I guess this gymnasium's not as bad.
no, it's if you have a few speakers set up right,
Yeah.
Right.
use the microphones,
Yeah.
fine.
okay,
Nothing like the echo chamber.
Say, I don't think the gym at Ruggles Lane has like 40-foot tall ceilings.
no, no. So it's a little bit smaller. A
Yeah.
little bit smaller.
Yeah, so it'll be fine.
Great, well, if there's nothing else, nothing for further discussion, general discussion from you guys or anybody online, I'm good.
Make a motion, we adjourn.
And I second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye,
Uh,
great.